Starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hello and welcome to the webinar for the Science Foundation Ireland Science Week Call 2017. This call is in relation to funding for Science Week festivals, events and a Dublin Open Day that educate or engage the Irish public in STEM during Science Week 2017. My name is Carol Farrell and I coordinate Science Week for Science Foundation Ireland. During the live webinar, you are welcome to ask questions. There should be a facility to do this on the right-hand side of your screen. At the end of the presentation, we will take a few minutes to collate the questions and we'll come back online to answer as many of them as we can. We will also provide contact details at the end should you think of a query after this session. A recording of the webinar and associated questions will be made available on the Science Week Call page of the Science Foundation Ireland website, www.scienceweek.ie. If you are experiencing any difficulties with the audio or picture from this webinar, please send a comment through to us and we will see what we can do to assist you. Science Foundation Ireland has set out its agenda for the period up to 2020, Agenda 2020. Objective 3 is the most relevant to this call, to have the most engaged and scientifically informed public. Science Foundation Ireland define an engaged public as a public that feels confident to understand the role of STEM, that can judge between competing STEM arguments and engage in informed debate around STEM issues, encourage young people to study and work in STEM, and that feel engaged with STEM research. The mission of the Education and Public Engagement Programme of Science Foundation Ireland is to catalyse, inspire and guide the best in science, technology, engineering and maths education and public engagement. We catalyse through funding novel and creative and engaging public engagement activities. We create networks of best practice and knowledge to enable national effort. We create networks to empower greater public reach and impact and enable greater understanding of target audiences and their needs. We inspire by supporting best practice exemplars, embracing public engagement as a fundamental to Science Foundation Ireland. We lead by example, establish leadership and contribute to policy and public debate. We prove value of participating in public engagement through measured results and create an understanding across partners of common goals. We guide by monitoring and evaluating impact through longitudinal studies, and we monitor and strategically plan for national priorities. In 2015, Science Foundation Ireland commissioned Millward Brown to complete the Science in Ireland Barometer. What they found was that the awareness of science in general is quite general but positive. However, half of the public feel uninformed about STEM, yet 58% are interested in it. So look at the different ways that the public values STEM. They feel that it's important to support training and education in STEM. 88% of respondents either strongly or slightly agree with this. They feel that science is important for addressing key challenges affecting our society. 83% felt strongly or slightly agreed with this. That research in STEM will lead to an improvement in the quality of life in Ireland in the next 20 years, and 87% of those strongly or slightly agreed with it. And 83% felt strongly or slightly agreed that the government investment in STEM is worthwhile. So science is highly valued for its role in advancing our society and the economy. 9 out of 10 people in the Science in Ireland Barometer agreed that young people's interest in STEM is essential for our future prosperity, while 88% think that science is an important subject to study in school. 85% agree it's important to encourage more girls to study STEM. So where do our findings from the Science in Ireland Barometer help us stand internationally? 71% of the Irish public felt that STEM is often too specialised for them to understand. This in comparison to findings from a similar study in New Zealand found that 35% of the New Zealand public felt that STEM was too specialised for them to understand. So it's a stark contrast, and New Zealand is a good comparison given that we have a similar population size and that they're also a member of the Small Advanced Economies Initiative. So we do have some way to go in terms of changing the perception of STEM in the Irish public. So does the population differ in its viewpoint of science? What we found was that lower socioeconomic groups generally tended to be less engaged with STEM. Females also tend to be less interested in STEM, and that disenfranchised group is a potential for conversion to help us reach much lower rates of the 71% that we talked about earlier. Parents can also be a rich source of potential in terms of stimulating scientific interest, and so are a focus area for the Science Week call. So Science Week 2017. Just to give you a little bit of history, Science Week was first established in 1996 by Forfos, and it was promoted as Information Technology and Science Week. The aim of it was to raise awareness of the benefits of science and information technology to people, young and old, throughout society. In 1997, it was rebranded as Science Week, and it was run by professional bodies, voluntary groups, colleges, business and the public, and they combined to organise 50 events countrywide. So now we're 2017, it's our 22nd year. And what we found through an evaluation done by OCS Consulting in 2013 was that the success of the week lies in the extended nature and spread of regional festivals, the increasing interactive nature of events, and the fact that the week is now a programme of scale and significance. And this is a real priority for the Science Week call in terms of ensuring that we have a real spread of activity during Science Week across the regions. So what is our vision for Science Week? We want Science Week to be a recognised part of Irish culture and the fabric of our society. We want it to be accessible to all and engaging people in the value of science, technology, engineering and maths to their society. So what is the role of SFI in Science Week? Well, we can coordinate the week nationally through the management of national media and PR campaign, the provision of Science Week roadshows to libraries and third level institutes, the supply of branded merchandise and collateral to event organisers, and the coordination of the Science Week website as the hub for event registration and resources, and the funding of regional festival events and a Dublin Open Day. In 2015, Science Foundation Ireland commissioned Behaviour and Attitudes to do an evaluation of Science Week to help us to understand who participates in Science Week events and to understand how they found their experience. We found that the largest visitor profile was females attending events with children in the 35 to 50-year-old age group from socioeconomic group ABC1 and the farming community. So what you can see from this is that it's largely mothers attending Science Week events with their children. What we also found from the evaluation was that 2 in every 5 visitors work in a STEM-related career, with half having studied STEM at third level. In addition to this, 4 in 5 claim to be interested in STEM education. So in order for us to change the 71% of the public who feel that science is too complicated for them to understand, we need to focus on target groups outside of this. Sorry, we have the audio connection lost. I'm just going to pause for a moment. Sorry about that, everyone. I think we've managed to re-establish our audio connection. Can you just let me know if you have any further issues? So like I was saying, in order for us to change that 71% of the public who feel that science is too complicated for them to understand, we really need to focus on target groups outside of this audience to help us achieve this. What we found was that 81% of children who attended Science Week festivals were under the age of 12 years, with 2 in 5 being between the ages of 10 to 12 years. So this is something we'll be looking at in Science Week 2017, in particular targeting the older audience in the teenage years. Behaviour and Attitudes also found the various aspects driving positive overall experience to be an event that offered something for everyone, so a mix of events that catered for all ages, children, parents and interested parties. that the enthusiasm of volunteers and exhibitors was really important to help pique children's understanding and keep them engaged. The ease of understanding talks and workshops is important, that exhibitors' ability to explain the exhibits or event in an accessible manner and detail how it relates to science and to the everyday. Another important aspect was interactivity, and the hands-on aspect helped children to learn and engage with exhibits, inspiring greater engagement and interest in science. The overall organisation of the event and the safety helped parents to feel that's safe and to allow their children to make their own way around exhibits. And the ability to get around the event area in exhibitions, the low numbers at each event ensured children could spend adequate time at the exhibit and volunteers could take time to engage with children, and that was a really important aspect for the public, that they found that there was time for their children to be able to engage with the volunteers at each stand. Another important aspect was free tickets to events, that free entry ensured people of all backgrounds could attend the event and to help further establish an open and welcoming atmosphere. So the recommendations from the 2015 evaluation for key priority areas for Science Week festivals in particular, but also stretching to Science Week events, were that they should offer something for every attendee. So if you're a family member, a mother or father going to an event with your children and you have a variety of ages, that there should be something there for everybody. That attendees can learn something new and interesting, but also that it's relevant to everyday life, that they can see how science is relevant to their lives, be it through food, sport, farming, whatever it may be. The event should be overall very well organised, it's easy to access, there's clear signage to different parts of the festival or the event, and that volunteers are well trained and accessible. There should be easy to understand talks and workshops, and it should inspire a greater interest in science among young attendees. So moving on to the funding call. The Science Week 2017 funding call, all the details are up on sfi.ie. The website also has the guidance document and application form. The call has been open since the 1st of February with the deadline on the 15th of March at 1 o'clock. Applications should be submitted to the discover.programme@sfi.ie. So what are the objectives of the Science Week call? We want to create a greater reach and local focus through a regionally collaborative programme. We want to engage and inspire people of all ages with STEM, and in particular inspire students along with their parents to consider taking up STEM subjects. We know that parents are integral to influencing their students' choices when it comes to subject choice at 2nd and 3rd level, so they're a real key audience for us in Science Week. We want to provide a true insight into STEM-related careers while breaking down negative stereotypes, and provide open events that are readily accessible to the public. We want to showcase and collaborate with local industries, institutions and local research, and promote local regions and provide a sense of community achievement in STEM. So who are our target audience for Science Week? We're looking at, this year we're focusing on socially, economically or educationally disadvantaged groups. Again, we're just going to pause for a moment. We seem to have an issue with the audio connection. Okay, we seem to have that sorted. If anybody has issues with the audio or connectivity, can you please let us know by submitting a question? So just back to target audience. In addition to socioeconomic and educationally disadvantaged groups, we're looking at adults, in particularly those attending without children. If you remember from earlier, we found that most of the attendees at Science Week events were mothers attending with children. So we're looking at focusing this year on people attending events without children, in particular those aged 35 to 55. So looking at more adult-focused events, possibly evening events, events at the weekend, in areas that people can relate to their everyday lives. We're also focusing on localities or areas with limited access to STEM activity is funded by Science Foundation Ireland, and those counties that are currently have low levels of Science Week intervention are Carlow, Clare, Donegal, Dublin, Laois, Louth, Meath, Tipperary, Wexford and Wicklow. So the funding call categories. This year we have brought in 3 separate categories to the Science Week funding call. The first one is for Science Week Regional Festival Development and Delivery. The second is Science Week Event Development and Delivery in areas where a Science Week festival is not already running. And then a Dublin Science Week Open Day. So for the Regional Festival Development and Delivery we can offer funding up to a maximum of €35,000. What we're looking for are hands-on activities and workshops, along with public discussions, demonstrations and exhibitions, including professionally produced content and collaborative content with associations or councils, for example, Irish sporting organisations, Irish food organisations, different things like that, that can show how science is really related to the everyday life. Along with this, it can include university or institute generated content and partnerships and content from private and local industries. What's important to look at here are projects that embrace the arts as well as STEM to see how STEM can fit into various areas of everyday life. An important part for regional festivals is leadership and partnership. A regional festival should include a broad-based organising committee to ensure the long-term sustainability of the festival. It should be made up of appropriate stakeholders with a range of skills, including overall event management, content programming, production, marketing and communications, project management, training, fundraising and finance. So these are the festivals that were funded in 2016. So you can see there were 10 festivals funded across the country. And the types of thing that works well internationally, there's lots of science festivals happening across the world, but some that we're just pointing out today are the Edinburgh Science Festival and the Northern Irish Science Festival. So if you want to take a look at those websites, you can get an idea of the types of content that they're running if you want to have a look and see how they broach different subjects, how they incorporate science into the everyday, and there's lots of ideas that you can take before you submit your application. So in terms of Science Week events, development and delivery, funding is offered up to a maximum of €8,000, and like I mentioned earlier, this is in areas where regional festivals are not already funded. They're for Science Week events or a smaller scale programme of events, and they can include interactive workshops and shows, debates and discussions, exhibitions, museum outreach, outdoor activity, theatre, comedy, music and film. So there's lots of various areas that it can fit in under, and we're looking for new formats and inventive ways of talking about science. The events should be delivered by skilled communicators who are most likely to inspire, inform and entertain. The events should be run in an accessible and suitable venue to ensure that they are attended by targeted audience, and the delivery and promotion of the events should be sophisticated and media savvy. So this year we're bringing in a Dublin Open Day part to the funding call, and the reason for this is that 28% of the total Irish public live in Dublin County. It's also an area where we have low levels of STEM intervention as funded by Science Foundation Ireland relative to the population living in the county. The HEA also did a report in 2015 and it looked at the access to third level across the country, and what they found in Dublin was that there was huge variance across the different areas. So for example, in Dublin 6 they had a 99% participation rate at third level, while in Dublin 17 there was a 15% participation rate. So there's huge variance there, and it just shows the importance of getting out to a broad reach of the community within the Dublin area. The other important part of Dublin is that it's very accessible from the commuter belt areas of Kildare, Meath, Wicklow, so it's accessible for people to engage, and they're also areas where we don't have a Science Week festival at the moment. We can offer funding up to a maximum of €20,000, and that's to organise, manage and deliver an open day. It should be in an accessible venue within Dublin City and cater for in excess of 2,000 people. It should be very accessible to parking and transport links. And what we're looking for is something that offers a broad range of STEAM public engagement opportunities for a variety of age groups. It should be delivered during Science Week 2017, which will take place between the 12th and the 19th of November. And what we will be looking at is something possibly towards the second half of the week on a weekend, so either the 18th or the 19th of November. So just in summary, the Science Week 2017 funding call, one of the key things is looking at the target audiences that we've highlighted. Look at the opportunity for partnerships, in particular looking at local industry and governmental organisations. Looking at the sustainability, and this is in particular in relation to festivals, so that the festival can continue to run in the coming years, and that we're looking at that from the broader perspective of Science Week. Engaging with stakeholders to make sure that what you're looking at for your event or your festival or the open day is really meeting the needs of the public. So going out and talking to parents, children, young people, those that you really want to engage with Science Week. And look at innovative and new ideas. Think of different ways at how we can engage the public in Science Week 2017. So just to the technicalities of it, the submission of applications, proposals should be submitted by email to discover.programme@sfi.ie. The deadline for the call is 1 o'clock on the 15th of March 2017. The receipt of your application will be acknowledged electronically within 5 working days of the deadline, and results will be notified in May 2017. This is a strict deadline. So the review process. Projects must be technically sound and have clear STEM content, either through direct collaboration with a qualified STEM professional, for example a scientist or engineer, leading or acting in an advisory role. The applications will be reviewed by independent international peer reviewers, so please include all relevant information. Applications considered ineligible for or uncompetitive for the programme, for example if the subject area addressed is not related to STEM festival content, will not be reviewed. The review process. Reviewers of the application will be asked to comment on, but are not limited to, the following aspects of the grant proposal. The project team. They'll be looking at the suitability of the project lead and any partners and whether the skills required, they have the skills required to deliver the project successfully. The project details. Clarity around what's being delivered, the diversity and quality of the programme being proposed, the plans to address target audience, offering a programme for different audiences, and the suitability of venues and their facilities. Budget and funding. They'll be looking at project costs, value for money, and leverage of funding from other partners. And evaluation plans, both formative evaluation for the proposal, outputs and impacts, evaluation methodology, dissemination of learnings, and strategic planning approach and appropriate exit strategy. So the application form. Section A is to be completed by all applicants. It's the meat of the application. You need to provide details of the team, who and what they bring to the project, what is their specific role, provide experience in the CVs. The team should demonstrate a range of skills outlined in the guidance document. There are 3 categories that we spoke about earlier: Science Week festivals, Science Week content to be delivered in areas where a festival doesn't exist, and the Dublin Open Day. In this section you should outline the audience for your event, who they are, whether you've consulted with them, do they include the specific groups identified in the guidance document. What are you proposing to deliver? It doesn't have to be nailed down exactly at this stage, but a good overview is required for the reviewers to assess your application. Marketing plans. How do you propose to market your event? Do you have different strategies for different groups? In the financial section, you will need to outline the costs and where the SFI funding will be spent. We need to be able to identify this clearly. Publicity and reporting will require full cooperation with the Science Week National Campaign, the project coordinator, and acknowledge Science Foundation Ireland's support. You'll also be asked to report on the event in February 2018. So like we said earlier, the closing date for completed applications is 1 p.m. on the 15th of March 2017. All applications must be submitted using the Science We Call application form. Please submit your application to discover.program@sfi.ie, and we only accept applications in Adobe PDF format. We're looking for a minimum font size of 12 with at least single line spacing. Please do observe the word counts, and the file size should be less than 5 megabytes. Single PDF files should include all relevant information, including CVs, and annual reports or accounts may be submitted as an additional PDF file. So now we're just going to take a few moments to collate any questions. If you just hold on for a moment, we'll get back to you. Okay, thank you so much for waiting. So just a few questions that came in. The first one was, can we receive a copy of the presentation? So there will be a recording of the webinar up on sfi.ie on the Science Week Call page of that website. I can also send out the slides by PDF in an email to all the webinar registrants. Another question was, can Dublin events be included in the Regional Festivals Call? No, they can't. The events call includes both individual events and programmes of events, and of course could be included in the Dublin Open Day. Another question, can companies registered in the UK apply? Yes, they can, once all the events happen within the Republic of Ireland. Another question, any changes to this year's call for festivals? There's no real changes to the call relating to festivals. The main changes are around the Dublin Open Day and the events. What we really want people to ensure they're looking at is that there's something for everybody and that there's public-facing events. So it's not just a focus on the school's audience and having invitation-only events, that there's plenty of events out there for the public. So when they become aware of Science Week during Science Week, that they can log on to the website, they can see plenty of opportunities for them to get involved in Science Week and register for events then. The final question was about multi-annual funding and whether this will become available. So we're currently exploring this idea, and it's something that we should be able to implement going forward, but it's not impacting on this year as it stands. So if there are any questions, please do email them to discover.programme@sfi.ie and we'll get back to you as soon as possible. Like I said, a recording of this webinar will be available on scienceweek.ie, on sfi.ie, and I will be emailing a copy of the slides to all of the webinar registrants. I want to thank you very much for your time and look forward to receiving your applications.